So let's start with what is IELTS speaking. First, we are going to understand that what is IELTS speaking. Now, the first part is called introduction or interview. It is a warm-up session. They just give you a chance to speak about yourself. Okay, the nature of the questions are personal. आपके अपने बारे में questions जो हैं वो इस part में पूछे जाते हैं. Around 10 questions in 4 to 5 minutes. Well, not exactly 10. It depends on the length of your answers. It may between 5 and 10. So it depends. And in 4 to 5 minutes. So this is the maximum time because the examiner is not allowed to extend the time. The second one is short presentation. Talk for 2 minutes with 1 minute to prepare. Now here actually the examiner gets a chance to see how good you are at English. Because speaking for continuously 2 minutes, it requires stamina. And obviously it requires the knowledge of English language and the ideas also. And the topics are numerous. Okay, there are so many topics for present, past, future. And the third one is, the most important one is discussion. Around 5 questions in 4 to 5 minutes. Now this part is the most crucial part where the examiner is going to finalize what grade or what band you are entitled to. So in this part, most of the students, they don't perform well, okay, because this is the difficult one. And they are ready for part 1 and part 2, but when it comes to part 3, sometimes they are totally blank. They don't know how to answer these questions in this part. The level of English language which is required for IELTS speaking part 3, the students, they are not ready for that. They are ready for part 1 and part 2. So you need to improve your English especially, and then your ideas also play very important role. Preparation is the key to a good score in IELTS speaking. Well, most of the students, they take it just कि आपने English बोलनी है. It's your preparation. No, it's not something like that. The way, how will you impress your examiner? The important thing is, so it actually, the score is given by the examiner if you satisfy him with your English language. And what will you prepare? Now we will discuss here. The first thing is interesting ideas in IELTS speaking, not grammar, not vocabulary, and not your sentence structures. The first thing is कि आपके पास दिलचस्प ख्यालात होने चाहिए in IELTS speaking, because the examiner actually through your ideas, he checks the level of your English language. It's not like that he's focusing only on the use of the form of the verbs and some other grammar related things. Actually, he is focusing on your ideas, the way you develop your ideas and then you deliver them. So of course, if you have a good command on English language, then you will be able to give interesting ideas. And those interesting ideas will be based on the possible answers. Because first you have the ideas and then you develop them according to the nature of the question. So अगर आपके interesting ideas हैं, then you will make the possible answers. And if you are totally empty minded, ठीक है, आपके ज़हन में ideas नहीं create हो पा रहे, so definitely it will be a very big challenge. So ideas को create करना जो है सबसे important चीज़ है in your IELTS speaking. It's not something कि आपने सिर्फ English को improve करना है. And then good topic specific vocabulary. Vocabulary plays very important role in all of your 4 modules. So work on your vocabulary. Every day you must read and find some new words. Make your own notes. It's not something I give you a list of 1,000 words or 2,000 words and you start memorizing them. I just want to recommend you, please improve your vocabulary on your own. Okay, reading is the best source that you read, and when you find any word which is not familiar, so you must find out its meaning and make your own notes. So hard work is required for improving your vocabulary. Different skills are tested in each part, so you need to know exactly what to do. So in part 1, part 2 and part 3, they check your different skills, fluency, your vocabulary, grammar, coherence and other things they check. So if you are good at these skills, then there are chances to get higher band score. So these skills are tested by the examiner. The test lasts between 11 and 14 minutes. So as I said, the examiner is strictly bound to follow the time. He will not extend the time. Now we will discuss that which part is the most important. As you know, these three parts have their own scoring, but which part is the most important? So let's discuss. Do the three parts of the speaking test carry equal weighting when your score is calculated, or is one part more important? It means कि क्या सारों को equal ही लिया जाता है तीनों parts को, या किसी एक part को ज़्यादा important भी समझा जाता है when the score is calculated? So the thing is, in part 1 it is supposed to be quite easy, like a warm up. ठीक है, क्योंकि पर्सनल नेचर के क्वेश्चंस होंगे, योर हॉबीज एंड फ्रेंड्स एंड फैमिली और इस तरह के टॉपिक्स. So you won't get a high score if you only do well in this part. And sometimes students, they feel relaxed that part 1 was very good, but part 2 and part 3 I had some trouble, so I had some problems. So just part 1 में अगर आपने अच्छा परफॉर्म कर भी लिया है तो फिर भी you are not going to get high score. Then part 2, when the examiner really gets a chance to assess how good you are at English, because when you speak continuously for 2 minutes, he checks everything in your English language, your vocabulary, sentence making, grammatical structures. So these all things are checked by him carefully. He or she will now have an idea of what scores to give you, but he will not finalize. Okay, just he will assume कि आपकी इंग्लिश इस लेवल पर है, तो आपका लेट से 6 बैंड है, 7 है, 6.5 है. So accordingly he will only have an idea when you speak for 2 minutes continuously. Now in part 3, the examiner is making his or her final decision. A good performance here can boost your score. Fine. So this is the time when you can show your skills of your English language in part 3. So if it goes well, so you will get high score. Otherwise, if you don't perform well in part 3 and you rely only on part 1 and part 2, then even then you cannot get high score. So for high score, you need to perform well in part 3. So the conclusion is 3 parts are not scored separately, okay, not one by one. The examiner rates the student's performance as a whole. So overall वो आपकी performance देखेगा in all of these 3 parts, and then he will rate your English. But part 3 is crucial because he is going to finalize. If you got good performance, as I said, so you will get a better score. If you don't understand, now this situation you might come across in your IELTS exam. uh, it might be the reason the examiner's accent or the pronunciation or maybe his speed can also matter when you don't understand. But I think examiners speak not that much fast. They are trained. They know how to make their candidates understand them. And so I don't think, but sometimes it happens. Or maybe if you are distracted by something, you were thinking of something and then the examiner asks a question. So in this situation, what will you do if you don't understand? Or even if the nature of the question is difficult to understand, especially in part 3. So we will discuss what will you do or what should you do if you don't understand. What should you do if you don't understand a question in the speaking test? Now we will see one by one. In part 1, the examiner is not allowed to help you, but he or she can repeat the question. Just say, sorry, can you repeat the question please? So he is not allowed to rephrase the question. Okay, as it is, he will repeat the same words in the question. So he is not allowed to help you, but he or she can only repeat. And this sentence is, I think, very effective one. Sorry, can you repeat the question please? Don't just say sorry. ठीक है, आप जिस तरह किसी को कोई बात नहीं समझते हैं, sorry. In IELTS exam, you know, your any impression can impress the examiner, anyone. So instead of just saying sorry या pardon, pardon भी कहा जाता है if you don't understand someone. By the way, the complete sentence is I beg your pardon. ठीक है, I beg your pardon. If you don't understand someone, you can use it also. So, but I think this sentence is quite appropriate if you write down this sentence somewhere and repeat it at least 3, 4, 5 times. So make yourself fluent on this sentence. In part 2, don't ask the examiner, he or she is not allowed to help you. No way. Okay. You are given a task card with a question written on it, so you shouldn't have any problems in this part. Because physically you will be given a card. and the questions will be written on it. So there shouldn't be any problem. And even if there is any word that you don't understand in the cue card, in the topic card, so don't ask the examiner. He is not allowed to help you. So in part 2, there is no chance for getting any type of help from the examiner's side. Next, part 3, the examiner is allowed to rephrase the question. Rephrase means to change the sequence of the words, or maybe using some synonyms to make it easy for you to understand the question. So because you know the nature of the questions are abstract, complicated, or in depth, you can say. Maybe the nature of the question requires to be rephrased. So you can ask him. Okay, so don't worry. In part 3, the examiner is allowed to help you, and you can say, sorry, can you explain that question in a different way, please? Next, what are they looking for? Now this is very important. We are going to discuss examiner what exactly he looks for. Okay, कि आपकी इंग्लिश में वो क्या चीजें हैं जो वो तलाश कर रहे हैं to give you a band score according to the level of your English language. So we will discuss those things. Stick to these guidelines and you will satisfy your examiner. And what are these guidelines? The first and foremost important thing is speak without long pauses when you're trying to think of something to say. Like I woke up and you know these sounds. So these sounds actually put your band score lower. So if you want to get good score, you need to speak English without long pauses. So long pauses actually show when you are thinking, okay, when you're trying to get some ideas. So try to avoid them, okay, or try to minimize them as much as possible. Okay, so these sounds actually show that you are not fluent. The next is understand what the examiner asks you and confirm that by answering accordingly. You know, although this is your speaking test, but the listening is also important. If you don't understand the examiner's question and you give a different answer, so definitely the examiner will realize that you are not good at your listening comprehension. You did not understand the question properly. Okay. So in part 1, he is not going to repeat the question if you don't ask. Okay, it depends. If you don't ask, then obviously the examiner is not going to repeat. He will acknowledge your that wrong answer. Okay, and that will affect on your band score. So understanding the examiner is most important thing in your IELTS speaking. And you know, listening is also a skill when you listen to someone. And how do you perceive his or her ideas? So you need to actually understand the question and then answer it accordingly. Demonstrate how many smart words you know. So you need to demonstrate. Okay, so smart words means the vocabulary or topic specific vocabulary. So this is very important that you choose those words which can impress your examiner. Then use all the tenses when you speak, past, present, future, and use them correctly. And you know, sometimes the question is in present. Even it is suggested that you use the present tense. Okay, but my suggestion is you must try to use past also. Okay, give one sentence from the past. At least the examiner will realize that you are good at tenses. I mean to say that, let's say if he asks you what do you do on the weekends in part 1, so आप इसको present में ही answer देंगे. But if you just say something from the past that last weekend we had a lot of enjoyment, we did something, so every weekend we go somewhere and I enjoy with my friends or family. तो just कोई एक आधा sentence अगर आप थोड़ा सा switch over कर भी देते हैं, at least in part 1 and part 2, क्योंकि part 1 और part 2 में आपको जो question पूछे जाएंगे that will be from your very own experience. वो आपकी अपनी कुछ जाती personal experience से चीजें जो अब तक हुई हैं उनसे related होते हैं या होती हैं, ठीक है, present में भी हो सकती हैं. Pronounce the words correctly. So this is also very important. You know the W sound is mispronounced by us like water, walk. ठीक है, जैसे कोई कहता है I go for a walk. So what do you think? The examiner will not check this thing. Okay, I go for a walk. Or if I say I go for a walk. So even it's a very minor difference between walk and walk, but the actual pronunciation is walk, not walk. And some people nowadays, I have just noticed some people say park. Okay, this is totally wrong. It's a park. So these mistakes, if you make in the pronunciation, that will also affect. And the next thing is, don't start long and complicated sentences if you don't know how to finish them. Don't be over clever and over smart. Okay, that you start giving long answers in part one especially. Okay, because in part one you give very simple, short, to the point answers. But in part 3 you need to give complicated and long answers. Okay, so but still you must be in your control. Okay, what you are speaking. If you don't control yourself and just you speak and speak, even you don't know कि आप क्या कह रहे हैं complicated sentences में, at times it becomes difficult to convey the sense what exactly you want to say, कि आप कहना क्या चाहते हैं. So please make it simple. ठीक है, short sentences रखें ताकि each and everything will be clear in the mind of your examiner. Next is, keep your sentences simple and words understandable. Okay, as we discussed, that instead of making complicated sentences, you just speak simple English and use the words which are understandable.